Casino wasn't just a movie. It was a 3-hour descent into the violent, glamorous heart of America's most dangerous playground. But here's what most people don't know. Almost everything you saw actually happened. The car bomb, the affair, the death in the cornfield, even that scene with the pen and the vice. Real. All of it. Today we're going behind the velvet road of Scorsese's Casino to uncover the true stories, on-set secrets, and shocking facts that prove truth is wilder than fiction. And trust me, you'll never see this film in the same way. Remember that opening explosion? On October 4th, 1982, Frank Rosenthal turned the key in his Cadillac Eldorado, and the car erupted into a fireball powerful enough to rip its roof apart. And here's the unbelievable part. Rosenthal walked away with minor burns. The reason? A design fluke. That Cadillac model had a metal plate under the seat meant to guard the gas tank. It ended up saving his life. The mob called it the miracle on East Sahara Avenue. Scorsese recreated this scene with such accuracy that he used the same car model and consulted with the actual bomb squad investigators. Sam Ace Rothstein wasn't just a character. He was Frank Lefty Rosenthal, and his story is even wilder than De Niro's portrayal. Here's the kicker. Lefty ran not one, not two, but 4 casinos simultaneously for the Chicago mob. The Stardust, the Fremont, the Hacienda, and the Marina. Without a gambling license. That's pure audacity. Lefty was such a gifted handicapper, he was banned from every U.S. racetrack by his 20s. The FBI estimated he handled over $1 million in bets a week. That's nearly $10 million today. Sharon Stone's volcanic, self-destructive performance as Ginger McKenna earned her an Oscar nomination. But the real Geri McGee story is far more tragic than the film even showed. Here's what they didn't tell you. Geri was a Vegas showgirl who could hustle chips from the high rollers better than anyone in the city. At her peak, she was making the equivalent of $12,000 a night in tips and gifts. She was so legendary that the casino bosses actually studied her techniques. But the most heartbreaking fact? Just weeks after Lefty survived the car bombing, Geri died of a drug overdose in a Los Angeles motel. She was only 46. The coroner found a lethal combination of cocaine, Valium, and whiskey in her system. Their daughter was just 16. Stone actually met with Frank Rosenthal and Geri's family during preparation. She said Rosenthal showed her home videos and photos telling her this is who she really was. Stone channeled that raw, desperate energy into a performance that still stands as one of the greatest in cinema history. Joe Pesci's Nicky Santoro makes Tommy DeVito look tame.
I should explain to you exactly what it is that I do. For instance, tomorrow morning I'll get up nice and early, take a walk down over to the bank, walk in and see you, and if you don't have my money for me, I'll crack your fucking head wide open in front of everybody in the bank. And just about the time that I'm coming out of jail, hopefully, you'll be coming out of your coma. And guess what? I'll split your fucking head open again. Because I'm fucking stupid. I don't give a fuck about jail. That's my business. That's what I do.
But the real Anthony Tony the Ant Spilotro was even worse. The FBI suspected Spilotro in at least 25 murders. When they finally caught up with him in 1986, they found him and his brother Michael beaten to death and buried in an Indiana cornfield, exactly as depicted in the film. But here's what Casino didn't show you. Tony wasn't just beaten. The coroner's report revealed that he was buried alive. Dirt was found in his lungs. Even more chilling, Spilotro's own crew turned on him. The mob bosses in Chicago decided he'd become too hot, too reckless, too much of a liability. They lured both brothers to what they thought was a promotion meeting. The location where they were found, just 6 miles from where Michael had lived. They were that close to home when they died. Every fan knows it. Pesci's Nicky makes his Goodfellas character look harmless. Tommy had a temper, but Nicky? He was a time bomb. Even killers feared him, and as violent as Pesci played him, the real Tony Spilotro was even worse, more reckless, more bloodthirsty, more unpredictable. Like Ace said, you beat Nicky with fists, he comes back with a bat. You beat him with a gun, you better kill him. You know what's fascinating? Fans have debated for years about why Ace Rothstein's casino empire collapsed. Some blame Ginger, her chaos, her addiction, her betrayal. Others say Ace sealed his own fate the moment he went on television. drawing heat from the other mob that preferred silence over stardom. But there's one detail most people agree on. Ace should have rehired that poor Danny boy. That single decision, that quiet moment of pride and stubbornness, was the real crack in the foundation. That scene with McQuibb's character isn't just another argument, it's the sound of the walls starting to crack. You can feel it, the tension, the arrogance, the quiet fury. That's Scorsese right there. No gunfire, no explosions, just one bad move that tells you everything's about to burn. Before Casino, Sharon Stone was known as that woman from Basic Instinct. Scorsese wasn't even considering her for Ginger, he was looking at bigger names. Stone had to audition for a role that would define her career. Here's a shocker. Scorsese made her audition 4 times. Each time he'd push her harder, demanding more raw emotion, more vulnerability, more chaos. Stone later said she pulled from the darkest places and that she became Ginger in those audition rooms. On the 4th audition, she delivered the phone scene, the one where Ginger's high, desperate, and falling apart, with such ferocious intensity that Scorsese and De Niro sat in stunned silence. When she finished, Scorsese simply said, "The part is yours."
That's all I'm asking.
I don't think she should go by herself.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, do you think if I came back, do you think you could forgive me?
That performance earned Stone her only Oscar nomination, and here's the tragedy. She never reached those heights again. Casino spans 3 decades and features over 70 costume changes for De Niro alone. Every single suit, tie, and shirt was custom-made. The costume designer, Rita Ryak and John Dunn, spent over $1 million just on costumes. But here's the detail that shows Scorsese's obsession. Each of De Niro's suits had specific tie and shirt combinations that reflected Ace's mental state. Brighter, more flamboyant outfits when he's at his peak of power, more subdued, darker tones as his world collapses. Watch the film again with this in mind. It's like a visual countdown to disaster. And those weren't costume jewelry, watches, and rings De Niro wore. Those were actual Rolex and Cartier pieces borrowed from collectors, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's one scene in Casino that test audiences hated. Studio executives wanted it cut. Even some crew members thought it went too far. The pen scene. You know the one. When Nicky Santoro viciously stabs a man in the neck with a pen, then finishes him with a vice. Scorsese was told it was gratuitous, unwatchable, and would earn the film an NC-17 rating. The studio demanded cuts. Scorsese refused. Here's why. That scene wasn't about shock value. It was about showing the complete dissolution of order in Las Vegas. When Nicky arrives, there are rules, codes, and structure. That scene marks the moment when all of that collapses into pure brutality. It's a turning point of the entire film. Scorsese fought for 3 months. Eventually, he made tiny, almost imperceptible cuts, barely seconds of footage, just enough to satisfy the MPAA. But the scene's impact? Fully intact. And he was right. That scene is essential. It's the moment we understand that the glittering casino empire is built on a foundation of unspeakable violence. Here's a surprising fact that might blow your mind. Universal Studios hated the dual narration structure. They thought audiences would be confused by De Niro and Pesci both narrating, sometimes talking over each other, sometimes contradicting each other. They wanted Scorsese to cut it down to one narrator, make it cleaner, simpler. But Scorsese understood something profound. This film needed competing voices because it's about competing versions of reality. Ace sees himself as a businessman forced to work with criminals. Nicky sees himself as a loyal soldier protecting his friend. They're both narrators of their own stories, and they're both unreliable. That structure, which seems so natural now, was a massive creative risk that paid off brilliantly. It's now studied in film schools as innovative storytelling. Casino ends with Ace alone, back where he started, still hustling in a sanitized corporate mega casino. The old Vegas is gone, the mob is gone, the danger is gone, and paradoxically, so is the magic. Scorsese filmed that ending at the then-new Mirage Casino in 1995. His point was clear. Vegas had become Disneyland, safe, sterile, and soulless. But here's the haunting part. Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal lived to see this transformation. He survived the car bomb, outlived his enemies, and spent his final decades watching Las Vegas become exactly what the film depicted: a corporate theme park. He died in 2008 at age 79, surrounded by memories of a world that no longer existed. In one of his final interviews, Rosenthal said, "The Vegas I knew is dead. Now it's just another city with slot machines." When Casino was released in 1995, it was seen as a companion piece to Goodfellas. Brilliant, but redundant. Critics praised it, but audiences were lukewarm. It made money, but it wasn't a phenomenon. 30 years later, Casino has aged like fine wine. While Goodfellas remains the crowd pleaser, Casino has become the film that serious movie lovers champion. It's longer, more complex, more visually ambitious, and more thematically rich. It's not about the rise and fall of gangsters. It's about the death of the American dream, the corruption of paradise, and the price of greed. Every frame is composed like a painting. The soundtrack, featuring everything from Bach to the Rolling Stones, is a masterclass in musical storytelling. The performances are raw and uncompromising, and the script, co-written by Scorsese and Pileggi, is dense with detail, darkly funny, and devastating in its honesty. For those of us who love this film, Casino isn't just a movie, it's a time capsule of an era. It's the film where De Niro gives his most controlled, cerebral performance. No shouting, just cold calculation and devastating precision. Martin Scorsese made a 3-hour epic about the death of a dream, filled it with voiceover and violence and visual splendor, and somehow made it all feel essential. Not a single frame is wasted, not a single scene feels indulgent. It's a movie that deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as The Godfather and Goodfellas, and for my money, it's the most rewatchable of them all. Because every time you watch Casino, you're discovering something new. A detail in the background, a line of dialogue that hits differently, a visual parallel you missed before. That's the mark of a masterpiece. So dim the lights, turn up the volume, and step back into the neon-soaked world of Ace Rothstein, Ginger McKenna, and Nicky Santoro. Watch it like it's 1995 again, when films were fearless, ambitious, and unapologetically real. And remember, in the end, the house always wins. If this deep dive into Casino pulled you into its world, hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, keep watching, keep feeling, and never stop chasing the magic of cinema.